The government announces the biggest overhaul of England's education system in a decade.
Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson joins us now. Very good morning to you. I wonder whether you were a little bit disappointed yesterday when we heard the Chancellor, Rachel Reid, talking for quite a long time in the slot that you're currently occupying, saying that the national priorities for everyone were the cost of living, the NHS and bringing down national debt. No mention of education, education, education.
The Chancellor also talked about how opportunity will be a central theme of the budget, and you can see no better way to deliver opportunity for our young people than through our education system. She also talked about how she's going to prioritise investment over austerity, and I'm really pleased that the Chancellor has backed that up through the last spending review with more investment in our schools. So we are delivering a lot more on education, and that is because of the decisions the Chancellor has taken to seek to stabilise the public finances. That has allowed us, even in the very difficult context where it comes to the economy, to invest more in our schools, to deliver expanded childcare for parents, deliver new free breakfast clubs, and we're expanding free school meals from next year to 500,000 more children as well.
I don't think we've done an interview where a member of the government hasn't mentioned breakfast clubs and free school meals. You might wonder whether there isn't enough to talk about, that you have to keep repeating those. Do you think that our taxes are going to go up in the budget in order to continue investment in education?
I would talk about breakfast clubs and free school meals all day long, because it's really popular with parents, it's really important for children, and I've seen on the many visits I've done to breakfast clubs the difference it's making at the start of the school day, and I look forward to rolling out more of them so that more of your viewers can benefit from the difference it makes.
Taxes have to go up to pay for that?
Yeah, you'll appreciate that I can't preempt the budget, I can't speculate on it, so I can't, I'm afraid, answer speculative questions about what the Chancellor might or might not do in the budget. It's not long for you to wait, just a couple of weeks. She'll set it all out in the House of Commons, but we have already made decisions to prioritise areas that do matter to the public, including schools.
The thing which she also didn't mention yesterday was child poverty, something that you campaigned for action on in the deputy leadership election in the Labour Party in the last month or two. Was that disappointing that she didn't mention that? And also, you fought hard, it was close, but you lost, and you were burdened by being the leadership candidate, Keir Starmer's candidate in the Cabinet. I wondered, do you regret not actually leaving the Cabinet and fighting on equal terms with Lucy Powell? Wouldn't that have given you a better chance?
No, I certainly don't regret that, because if that had happened, I wouldn't be sat here today announcing the biggest changes in a decade to our curriculum to make sure that our young people are well prepared for the world to come and get a brilliant education when they're at school. I really enjoyed the contest, the chance to travel the length and breadth of the country to meet with so many brilliant Labour Party members. I learnt a lot, and I'm pleased for Lucy. Of course, I wanted to win the contest, but I'm sure she'll do a great job, and I wish her well.
Can I ask you about the curriculum changes?
Sorry, can I just say, I'm not sure we got an answer on child poverty.
No, we didn't actually.
No.
Well, OK, fine, I'll go back to it. There were two quite big and different questions there. Child poverty, yes, it's a big personal priority for me. I experienced it growing up. I know what it feels like. I regret that so many children in our country every day are experiencing that. This Labour government will turn that around. We will make sure that there are fewer children growing up in poverty in our country. It has always been the moral mission of Labour governments to tackle child poverty. I know it's something that the Chancellor also cares very deeply about. And that's why, when together with her, we announced the expansion of free school meals that will take effect from next year. With that one measure alone, we lifted 100,000 children out of poverty.
Yeah, but we understand the point about free school meals, but what about the two-child benefit cap? Is that going to get lifted? Because I know that that's something you're very keen to see.
Those are the kinds of measures that get set out in the budget. You'll appreciate, again, I'm not going to speculate on what might or might not be in the budget. To be honest, I wouldn't know. I'm not the Chancellor. What I do know is the evidence is clear about what we need to do to tackle child poverty, and that's something I continue to discuss with colleagues in government, including the Chancellor.
But what you could confirm to us is that while Lucy Powell, the Deputy Leader, will be pushing for the two-child cap to go in the budget from outside the Cabinet, you will continue to raise that in the next 3 weeks inside the Cabinet. You'll keep the pressure on behalf of Labour Party members inside the Cabinet for that change, won't you?
I'm in those meetings and I'm involved in these discussions about what we will be announcing, what the Chancellor will be announcing in the budget. I'm leading our work across government on child poverty. I will make sure we do what's right by children in our country. I will always push for that. What I won't be able to do, however, is come on your programme and talk about meetings, discussions that I've had. Those are best done behind closed doors, but I am confident we're going to make progress on child poverty because that's what Labour governments have always done.
Can I ask you about the curriculum changes? There are lots of different things to ask about. One thing is you are ditching Michael Gove's English Baccalaureate, which was seen to have narrowed the curriculum 10 years ago to a more academic set of subjects. I wonder whether this choice between doing more academic learning and wider learning, cultural arts, those things, is a false choice. I remember lots of head teachers saying to me that classes in dance or sport or music inspire young people to work hard. That's how you get better maths and science results. He was wrong, Michael Gove, wasn't he, to narrow the curriculum just to these academic subjects?
I agree it's a false choice because, you know, what we're setting out today through the review and the government's response to it is how we make sure that young people do have a really solid foundation in key subjects like English, maths and science. But I think you can do that and you can make improvements, and there's more to do to ensure that particularly working class children get good outcomes in those core subjects. But you can do that and also make sure that all young people at school have a broad and rich education. I know that's what parents want. And, you know, we have seen through that measure that was introduced, the EBAC, a constraining of choice and a narrowing that has meant that, you know, young people who want the chance to study creative and vocational subjects alongside academic subjects, that's been squeezed out. And it's why, you know, the review that we're setting out today has been widely welcomed by some of our most successful Academy Trust leaders, by business and by creative and vocational organisations, by the creative sector, because they know the value. And we see the value in the economy. There are some brilliant jobs in those sectors too.
It's very interesting that a number of times this morning, not in that particular answer, but a number of times this morning you said that you can't talk about what's in the budget because, you know, you couldn't possibly be expected 3 weeks out to do that. Can I just ask, what was the point of the Chancellor using 45 minutes of breakfast news airtime yesterday to deliver a speech in which she said nothing? What was the purpose of that from the government's point of view?
So I believe it's right that the Chancellor speaks directly to the public, speaks directly to all of you as well about the choices that we're facing in the run-up to the budget, about the situation of the economy, about the shape of our public finances, and makes the argument for how, you know, despite the difficult situation that exists, and it's actually even tougher than, you know, we knew, and the Office of Budget Responsibility will set that out in the coming weeks, that the damage of Brexit and the damage of austerities has been even more severe over the course of the last decade than we knew. That in that context, she sets out the choices and approach that she will be taking.
She didn't set out any choices. All she did was told us that it's tough and it's not her fault, it's everyone else's fault. You can't deny that it is a natural assumption that the point of that hijacking of breakfast news airtime was to tell us effectively tax rises are coming.
Definitely.
I'm surprised that you think the Chancellor seeking to speak to viewers at breakfast is somehow a hijacking. I think it's rather admirable that the Chancellor is seeking to set out the position ahead of the budget.
And what the position is. We experience it every day.
Well, yes, I agree that sadly many people across our country are working harder than ever and are concerned about making sure our public finances and our public services are in good shape.
But
so
why do that without saying anything, unless we're all to deduce that the reason she did it was because taxes are going up? That's what she was softening people up for.
The Chancellor was setting out the choice we face as a country, which is, do we want to invest in the things that matter to people, our schools, our hospitals, our transport infrastructure, or do we take the path of austerity? And the damage we know that has caused over the last decade, alongside the chaotic Brexit deal, has meant there is severe and lasting damage, more serious than we knew, to the shape of our economy. And that does mean that the Chancellor has to consider all of that going into the budget. But she was clear that she'll make the right long-term choices to get our public finances on track, to deliver a brighter future for our children, and also to make sure that the economy, both now and into the future, is on a better path. And we're seeing some of that already. There's much more to do, but we've seen interest rate cuts. We've seen the strongest growth in the G7 over the last 6 months. There is more to do. Of course there is. But the direction of travel is the right one.
The problem is, Bridget Phillipson, every newspaper, every broadcaster, every commentator heard it yesterday and said that means taxes are going up. Either her medium team are completely incompetent, or that is what she wanted to say. That's what everybody heard. I just don't quite understand why you don't just say it. It would be constrained to say it.
You've been involved in many of these discussions over the years, Ed, and you'll appreciate that it's not for me to come on your programme weeks ahead of the budget as Education Secretary and set out the Chancellor's budget position. That's for her to do. She'll do it in the usual way.
OK. Bridget Phillipson, thanks very much indeed.